Okay, so good day to everyone. So today we're going to talk about recursion. So in our previous lecture and also in our previous video, so this chapter talks about a review of your in programming 1 and also programming 2, but we are focused in this review about these four topics, which is the basic data structures. We have array and structures. And now, before moving back to structures or talking about structures, so let's first talk about recursion and backtracking. Then afterwards, so we'll be talking about structures and also pointers as our last topic for this review. So let's move to our recursion slides. Okay, so we have here recursion. So based on the definition given about recursion, or it's actually taken from the word recursive, which is still the same with loops or repetition. But later on, so we're going to um, differentiate the two topics, which is recursion and we have loops. So based on the definitions, recursion occurs when a function calls itself repeatedly until it reaches a specific stopping condition. So before talking about the format of recursive function, so let's first understand the meaning of recursion. So based from your interpreted programming, so I think, I don't know, in your programming one, so you already talk about function, right? So, and you already understand also in our previous video, we talk about that all programs in C programming, it always have or has at least one function, which is the main function. And then I also said that other function will only be invoked or executed unless it is called by your main function. So for the recursion, given with that idea, function can actually call itself. So based on the example that we have, and also in your programming one and also programming two, so uh, most of the function example is more on you have two function wherein one function or the callee uh, invoke the other function. And you already understand also that function is a set of program or a body of program that perform a specific task, right? So for the recursion, it's actually the same with that behavior, but the difference lang is ang function i-call niya ang iyang kaugalingon. That's actually recursion. So the repetition happens because the function calls itself. So meaning, always remember that in programming, no, ang execution sa atong program is from top to bottom. Meaning, from your function declaration, wherein you set in, then you have the function name, then you have the body of your function. So by the time ang function yung i-call yung kaugalingon, so meaning it starts in the beginning, or meaning it go backs to the beginning sa iyang execution. So unless walay mo stop anang pag-call ana niya, so naay loop nga mahitabo, and it's the same with the infinite loop. So that is why actually recursion and also loop is the same. It's such that ang function lang, it's repetition sa in the sense nga gina-call niya ang iyang kaugalingon. So meaning ang whole body or ang whole nga function ang gina-execute perme. Whereas ang loop, it's just more siya a snippet or just a part of your function nga or nala siya set of lines or codes nga inside sa imong function nga iyang gina-repeat o execute. But for the recursion, ang whole function yun ang iyang gina-execute or gina-repeatedly executed. So we have format of recursion. Later on, so I will give an example for recursion and also differentiate it with loop. So we have format of a recursive function. So the same with looping. Diba sa looping we have initialization wherein mo na siya ang mag-set sa starting point sa atong loop. Example, you start your loop with your counter nga I, which is equal to 1, and then you set the condition of your loop nga wherein mo na siya ang mag-dictate until when mag-execute or mag-repeat of execution ang atong loop or ang body sa atong loop. So meaning natay initial value, then we have a counter which is a condition. Then next it's atong re-initialize ang atong counter. Otherwise, dili man to nga ma-hit ang condition since ang imong I is wala siya na re-initialize or meaning wala na change ang iyang value. So therefore, ang imong counter, make sure nga ma-change yun ang iyong value based on unsa ang imong way sa imong processing. Example, your I, then may ka nga I is less than equal to 20, then you do some line of codes nga gusto nimo nga i-execute, like may lang kag print if lang nimo, i-print if lang nimo ang I, then you re-initialize then the value of your I. Kaya mo to siya ang mag-count ang imong counter, meaning mo ang imong baseline for your condition nga mas-set to siya as true or false na para mag-stop na din imong loop. So the same with recursion, napod siya ingin ato nga mga features and characteristics kay para dili pod mag-infinite ang atong function calling or ang iyang kaugalingon iyang i-call perme repeatedly. Otherwise, so dili siya mahuman. So natay mga format pod nga atong tan-awon with recursion. So a recursive function consists of two main parts, which is the base case, and we have also the recursive case. So meaning natay duha ka tan-awonon sa atong recursion. Ang base case is mao ni siya ang stopping point sa imong recursion. Wherein pag makita na niya nga value, mag-stop na siya din mag-return na din siya og ang katong constant ka value which is either 1, 0, depende. No, depende on sa imong goal nga ma-achieve. Later on, so I will give you an example for that. So for the recursive function, so meaning ang base case, mo na siya ang katong condition nga mag-evaluate from time to time kung na-hit na ba nato ang katong condition wherein dapat na siya mag-stop then mag-return tag constant value. Ang recursive case, ito ni siya ang time or it's the opposite of the base case wherein wala pa nato na reach ang katong stopping point. So kinahanglan pa niya nga mo call pa sa ang kaugalingon. Kaya wala pa niya na, meaning false pa ang atong base case na condition. Meaning wala pa siya napot sa point, so therefore pwede pa siya mo proceed or continue. So it's the recursive case is where the function calls itself repeatedly until it reaches the base case. So meaning if ato siyang i-compare with loops, kato pa ni siyang nag-true pagyapon ang iyang condition. Meaning wala pa nag-false. So meaning ang I nato is less than 20 pagyapon. Napos siya sa 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, until mabot siya og 19. So 19, it's the last number which is I is less than the 20. So therefore, ang atong base case, mo na nito ang 20 up. Okay? So that's it. That's in comparison with recursion and also looping. Okay, so make sure nga you have to remember this one. So ang difference lang ng recursion and loop, ang recursion it's gina-repeat ang whole function o execute, whereas compare sa atong loop nga body or set of programs lang siya. Meaning in terms of kanang subset lang ang atong loop sa atong recursion. Okay? So kay pwede man ka nga naka-loop under sa imong function. Pwede naman siya nga i-recur or recursion. Okay. So this is the flow chart of a recursion. So if you can see, diri sa atong slides, it's actually the same with loop, right? So na siya loop diri sa atong leftmost, wherein kung na siya condition nga na reach na ba nato ang atong base case. So if not, kung false siya, so therefore mag-record siya. So iyan na pong i-call ang iyang kaugalingon, din iyan na pong ipasa ang katong value for another nga processing or computation. Then back na po siya sa condition kung iabot ni reach na ba nato atong base case. If wala pa, iyan na pong i-call ang iyang kaugalingon. So I think you already also familiar with how you're going to call a function. So mag-loop ni siya until nga niabot na ang base case nato. Kung mag-true na siya, then na siya i-return nga value or return statement. Other commonly, common na siya with recursion. Always gina, it's a constant value which is 1 or 0. But mostly it's 1. Then mag-end na din ang atong recursion. So here's the syntax for creating a recursive function. So we have here define recursive function. This is the same on how you're going to declare a function. So you have your return type, then you have the function name, then you have, of course, close and open parentheses wherein you can set the parameters of your function, kung unsa ang mga value nga iyang pwede nga i-receive, o pila ka parameter ang iyang pwede nga i-receive. Okay, so I think that's as a review sa inyong programming 1. Then we have here the base case. So for the base case, no, of course, wala man ilain nato nga way in terms of evaluating if na reach na nato ang base case kung dili mo gamit kita og condition. So we have here if the base case condition, so meaning may ganda dere of if n is less than 1 or n is equal to 1, then return na rin ta og 1. So later on, so I will give you an example for that. Then we have else. So mao na siya ang katong recursive call. Itong ibalik. So it's the recursive case. So for the recursive case, so else if wala pa nato na reach ang atong base case condition or katong mga values na dili na dapat ta mag-execute sa atong recursive call. So therefore, if wala pa to na abot nga reach nga point or katong mga values, pwede pa ta maka-continue. So na pa recursive call wherein mag-return ka sa value, then you have i-call na pa ni magbalik ang function. So imong i-call balik ang kaninga function. Tawagon nimo ni siya nga function. Tawagon niya nimo ang kaugalingon nga function. Or tawagon ni function ang iyang kaugalingon. Okay? Okay, para ma-separate na to ang atong human o ang programmer o ang